So now we're going live. I've fixed that goof up.
Finally.
It would not be a live stream if we didn't have at least one thing go wrong at the start of every live stream. At least it's now opposed to, halfway through where we lose everything and it's a disaster. So we are live. I'm just going to quickly do the introductions again. So I'm Jackson Wood. I'm with Japanime Games. We have Eric Price, who is below me in the Zoom call. He is our president and wonderful human being. And then we have Eiji Shishido from Will Studios, another wonderful human being that we've had the pleasure to work with. And so I'm going to turn it over to Eric, who has some things to say, and then we're going to talk to Eiji.
So, anyway, I just want to say thank you to everybody for supporting us, and we know many of you really want to see this game come to life. We really do too. We worked very hard at making this product and helping promote this and do the marketing and all of that. And EG still has more plans to do with Alternate Souls. We wanted to have this chance to hear from the fans and hear from potential fans and players about what you would like to see in the product to perhaps make some adjustments for a future relaunch is kind of the idea. So that being said, I'm going to turn that over to EG.
Thank you, Eric. So, thank you for giving me the opportunity for live in Jackson like this. So, yeah, actually, unfortunately, we couldn't achieve the goal. We've set it up already. But, yeah. So, we can try next time. And again. So, please don't disappoint. So, what you've got, you're gonna get through our project like Praise, Saddle Deck, and Booster Pack. We are going to modify and launch in with some improvement. Thanks for your lots of the comment, so we can see some point to fix. So today, with this opportunity, I wanted to discuss what we should fix and modify a little bit for our next project. So I appreciate your comments, lots of the comments on our campaign pages. But so far, the result is not enough to achieve that. But I very appreciate from my heart for the Japanime Games and our fans and backers and who's the supporters who've tried to share our information. So let's enjoy the last part of our show this time.
Yeah.
to prepare the next time. Thank you.
I was just looking at the campaign here, and I see in the last couple hours, the campaign has still got some more funding.
Yeah, after
this announcement.
After we made the announcement, we had more people fund, which was very interesting to see.
Right.
Oh, really?
I thought when we came back there'd be fewer backers, but people are hopeful. I mean, we were hopeful. So we got to this point and realized that we're just not quite going to make it, and that's unfortunate. But we really do appreciate everybody, putting the effort in, and yeah. So we hope to hear from some people and get some advice and just really tell us what you'd like to see. I mean, that would help you with the future with taking this game. Like if there's other ideas, add-ons, cool stuff you'd like to see with the game, we'd love to hear from you. So,
well, and additionally to that, I know there are definitely going to be some questions rolling in. There's one there right now, and there's been questions throughout the campaign as well. But beyond just hearing what people would like to see differently, it's also important for those fans to say what they really did enjoy, the things that made them the most excited, the things that they loved to see the most out of the campaign and got them interested in the first place. See, that's that. To me, I think critiques are important for both the positives and the negatives to give you the full picture.
Yep.
Oh, it seems like you might be very quiet, Eric, so I'm going to try to turn you up on my side. But the first question, which has been the biggest question in general while I try to fix this audio issue for you, is what's been the motivation in taking this project as a TCG instead of making it a board game or a living card game or one of these other options that might exist out there? Let's see if I can turn Eric up.
EG being the creator of the game, I think that would be best answered by you.
Yes.
So yes, this was really interesting idea. So once, yeah, yeah. It reminded me, getting remind me. So yeah, the first opportunity was Crossmaster. So the board game with miniature and some cards and this blind box inspired me a lot.
Yeah.
And then we had in Japan we had small lots of the miniature figures like looks like very similar. And I prepared some sketches for that to prepare the board games. And then we recognize. Then after that, maybe new game style like LCG or something, and coming and coming. So that was the original idea. And miniatures, figurines, and curves. So at that time, I'm running with the TCG project. So I know a lot about the trading card game. So I just thought,
Interesting.
let's combine the miniature game and the TCG game.
Mm.
So I'm not good at in board game thing, but Japan is actually a good country to create new miniature and figurine and IPs or something. And I have the knowledge of the TCGs. And then actually I've discussed with some friends, including ex-Japanese member and other member. So and then I got the idea to mix the trading card game and the board game. Not board game as a acrylic sandwich, like the arena types. That was the original thought I've got before. But now I need, yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
yeah. Now I need to check the comments a little bit. So maybe like a not trading card game style, LCG style, fixed
Mm.
card game style would be better for the
Well,
next
that's
draft.
something I've seen a lot of in the comments.
Mm.
Of the Kickstarter, people talking about things that they would like to see. I know specifically with Kickstarter, people quite often, they want to be able to go into the Kickstarter and get the whole collection of everything. And so it does make it difficult to do a collectible game on Kickstarter. We did very well with that years ago with Crossmaster, and it's not that it's impossible to make happen, but there's different scenes, there's different times, and there's that pesky coronavirus. So
Yeah.
that obviously impacted things for us. I so much of what we're trying to promote and build here is the organized play behind this game in stores and getting that whole tournament scene together. That's really a big focus of what we're trying to create. And obviously, no stores have event space right now, and I feel that that was a challenge.
Yeah, it is actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
yes. Organized play was one of the most part we focus already a lot. But unfortunately, I don't want to say, kind of excuse of the coronavirus, but actually timing was really bad, actually.
Yes, yes. That was definitely a thing, and that's something we discussed when we were going to launch. I mean, we had planned to launch,
Yes.
and EG and I met at Gamma
Mm.
in Reno, Nevada, uh, and discussed everything and the direction we wanted to take things. We decided to move forward, and then it was, I mean, that was the beginning of things right then. And then it was over the next week, next couple of weeks, all of a sudden everything got really bad, and we're like, what do we do?
Yes, that was a very close timing. We
Yeah,
met and decided to launch, then lockdown started. So,
yeah.
yeah,
So,
I
you know,
couldn't expect this.
things are going to change. There's going to be a better time in the future, I'm sure.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
stores are opening back up in the next few weeks. Event spaces are going to be closed down in stores for a while. I don't know how long that's going to be, but eventually we'll have conventions coming back, and that will help all gaming again, of course.
Yes. So, and thanks of our backers comment, so we could recognize some point to fix for our next project. And actually, Eric and Jim advised me this point, make this point to fix for the next one. Especially, so that is a point. So I wanna, let's say, discuss and proposed by through our campaign to fix for next time. One point we've discussed already was maybe we don't need to launch 5 attributes all the same time. Maybe we can launch 3 at the beginning, and also many people prefer to have the one whole set, and doesn't cannot enjoy the random packs for the through this Kickstarter campaign. For these 2 points, maybe I wanna, let's say, confirm, yeah, through the input of the fans and today for from. I mean now.
That's a big thing that we felt is that perhaps it was a bit too ambitious. Try to create all of this to
Yeah.
5 different starter decks and the booster display, which was something we went back and forth and discussed quite a bit before launching. But
Yes, exactly.
that's obviously the way the system is set up with the 5 different attributes,
Yeah.
5 different types of starters. But perhaps a relaunch may be coming back with 2 starters to begin with,
Mm.
and release them along with the boosters. I mean, it could be a third starter comes out, or maybe 3 come out with the first expansion.
Yes, I think so.
Fourth one comes out with the second, 5th one comes out with the third.
Mm.
That might be a better way to release the product line slower rather than a big release at the beginning. A lot of people asked me when we launched, $100,000. That's such a huge goal. And well, the truth is, it's what we were trying to accomplish right from the get-go, right from the beginning, was releasing all of these together was it costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's why we had such a big goal for this. As opposed to some of our most recent campaigns. I mean, like Testament was our most recent campaign, and that we had a much lower goal. But one board game, even though there was a lot in that board game, one board game does not cost what it costs to make a big production like this.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of factors too, which like we couldn't go into all of them because a lot of that is like trade secret to some extent, but there's a lot of those factors that go into the pricing, and we definitely saw mixed reviews on pricing in general. We saw people saying that it was totally reasonable and totally fine to it being a major barrier to entry.
I see. So in that point, so maybe I can explain a little bit. Yeah, $30 one salad is kind of topics to whether this is expensive or something. But it includes the 4 acrylic standees. And actually, basically, one acrylic standee, even in Japan, maybe $10
Yeah.
or $7-8 one. So then we're gonna launch the 4, right? So already 7 times 4, or it's already 28 something.
Yeah.
If it's a 10, 40,
Let's
and
look.
then we're gonna add the cards as well and
Yeah.
the game as well. So not only for the price of the each acrylic standee, but small idea and the curves and something. So I don't think it's too expensive actually. And at first we thought it's going to be $32 simply for US dollar and I don't know $8 times 4. But now we reduced for the beginning for to start to easy start, so $30. So we appreciate if people can understand our effort to decide the price.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a lot of thought that went into the pricing and the different releases with the initial offering. We spent a lot of effort on that, but sometimes it's good to stop and reconsider and see what would be a better offering for the fans. That's basically where we've been at this last few days when we've been realizing and coming in terms of the fact that this Kickstarter, unfortunately, was not going to make the funding needed to produce the game right now. But EG's plan is to take a step back and reassess everything, look at everything that people have had to say in the comments on the Kickstarter thread, comments from Japanime fans, and see what people have to say, what they would like, how they feel it might be improved with the new offering, and assess all that, and hopefully come back with relaunching through a new crowdfunding campaign is the idea, I believe. So when that will be, I don't know yet, but not
Yeah, hope.
not
Yeah,
tomorrow.
Not tomorrow, but not next month maybe. So I want to relaunch this one. So it takes a little bit, but hopefully during this month, I want to start again. Because the still people still have when is it going to come, still expecting
Right.
on us, and they're ready to pledge the price to be ready, right?
Yeah.
So some part we need to fix, but most of the part we can copy and paste for the next timing, next project.
You definitely have a
So
lot
I'm
of the
not-
structure there.
Yes, make sure the credit was well accepted, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, very much. And I mean, I would definitely say most people would be pretty happy with 60,000 on a Kickstarter. They'd be
Yes.
like, "Wow, we did really well." And I mean, it's certainly it's not a bad number. I think the biggest problem really is just not enough backer count. We didn't get enough excitement going. We didn't get enough. We didn't get the word out well enough over enough time, and that is something that can always benefit from a relaunch, because then you're able to get the word out over more time, more marketing to more people. So
yeah, actually, yes, I definitely agree with your opinion. So I need to emphasize again. So I appreciate these kinds of factors and the achievement we got. So actually, so it is very sad. So we cannot achieve that. But opposite meaning, but we can think opposite. That I know many people gave us a comment. I like this, project, and I wanted to support that. But unfortunately, we couldn't. We should fix this point, this point, this point. So we can appreciate, and I'm very appreciate to give the opportunity. I mean, to try the next opportunity with fixing the lot of the part. They gave us the comment. So Jackson, most of the part maybe we need to fix for the next timing is we shouldn't launch the randomized packaging and fixed carousel going to be the
Yeah, I think
right?
that if I were to say, based on the feedback that I saw on all of the social media channels and all of the other outlets that people were using to talk about things, that would definitely be the first place that I would start. It seemed to be the biggest hang-up. A lot of people, they don't necessarily want to risk getting those doubles without knowing what that secondary market or those extra incentives might be in full. And while we had ideas for them, it just may not have been robust enough initially for them to feel comfortable with that investment.
Okay.
But we are...
So,
Go ahead.
yeah, that's part maybe we can fix easily.
Yeah.
Actually, random shuffling is kind of pain for the publisher, the manufacturer as well. So it's simple to launch with the LCG style. This is the starter kit and expansions here. This is one thing we can fix immediately. And another one is how was the style of each starter deck and then booster pack. Maybe next one we should set it up everything in what's as starter kit and some expansions, right?
And those are a lot of ideas to go back to the proverbial drawing board with and present forward. And this is the time to really take it to market research and reach out to the fans that were contributing and saying, hey, we have a survey that we put together. Here's what we're thinking of doing. Which of these options do you like best? mindfully, game design by committee is not always the best process because you're going to get a lot of mixed results. But when you have a really focused idea of what you're looking for, it can definitely help you narrow in on what your results want to be.
Yeah, here's the idea for the next Kickstarter I have now. So as we discussed, 3 attribute, one set as starter kit, let's
Okay.
say. And then together with the booster, let's say, pack kit add-on. So of the each attribute. So I'm thinking about 3 attributes at first. Light and darkness.
Mm-hmm.
And then, fire, my favorite character. So three attributes for the beginning as starter kit. So we don't produce each starter deck. 3 attributes all together we prepared for this project. And then boosters is going to be the 5 characters each from attribute. Fire add-on kit, and then light attribute add-on kit, and then darkness add-on. So the player can choose their favorite attribute, right?
Yep.
To add on as a slot. Then it has simply 5 each, and with new rulers. That is kind of simple style. I'm thinking for the next one.
I mean, hearing that, I think that's a really reasonable approach and definitely warrants getting some feedback and seeing if that's something that people like. I mean, obviously, we'd like to see in the chat if that's something that people like, but they have been asking questions as well during this time. So.
Another one is maybe we can keep for the future next Kickstarter some of our plays. So I just gonna launch a couple of the plays for the beginning because we're gonna use only the 3 attributes.
Mm-hmm.
And that is I think some people disappointed. They're gonna lose the opportunity to get the ultimate prize and only one in the world. But I'm curious about whether they are interested in to see the small one. It's not, special we can print.
Yeah.
Up to the demand.
I think incentives in general that don't just reward those at the top, but have a deeper breadth to them throughout the level of people participating is definitely a good move because it doesn't just reward those people at the top.
Sure, of course, this is only dedicated only for this Kickstarter campaign, but maybe that is kind of another idea to add on for the next one.
Yeah.
The sleeves are also got a good response, right?
Yeah.
Oh. Yes, those look really nice. Heather put those sleeves together, and she did a great job with that. We've got some other cool anime accessories that we're working on right now too for Japanime, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
But those look great, and the metal plates do look beautiful. I mean, it's one of those things that you kind of have to see in person to really see how amazing they look. You did a great job of putting those together. So, yeah, I mean, that's really what we've got right now. I feel like we really gave it our all for the time, for the what we could do, how we could promote things in the current environment and all of that. But EG is still committed to this project, and we'll be putting it all together and relaunching, and it's going to happen. It's just not right today.
No. Well, do we have some time to... These will be mostly directed at you, Iji, to answer some questions or talk about some of the concepts that people have brought up in the chat and otherwise? And
Yeah.
cool.
Definitely.
So one of the big things that it's less of a what can be changed, but more just a thing for the future is better consolidation of information, which I think as this all came together, it was learned like how we should present things and what might be better production value versus what isn't. And so just something that's come up a couple of times is saying, hey, maybe a few more videos consolidating this information, maybe an infographic or two that really sort of highlights these key components in a way that is easy to understand but isn't necessarily a wall of text. And that's less a like here's what can be changed about the game, but more just about presentation for the future. But beyond
Yeah.
that, go ahead.
Mm. Yeah, I could see that some comment, before the or the during the Kickstarter, they wanna enjoy the hard previews of most of the card. Yeah, actually, we had all the images, so maybe next time we can show in advance or
Yeah.
during the Kickstarter campaign.
Or have them in one consolidated place, like just a gallery of those images that says here's everything
Yes.
that we have debuted before. A lot of spoiler sites for things like Magic the Gathering or otherwise put them all on the same web page as an easily accessible document.
Yes, yes, yes. And also the how the game works, gameplay video. They wanna enjoy more, right?
Yeah, things like
how,
that.
How game works. Yeah.
Yeah, some things like that are definitely good. I wrote down some of these questions. We've already covered the TCG versus LCG aspect pretty extensively there, which was probably the biggest concern that a lot of people had.
Yeah.
People just want to know where they can get the sweet swag as well, which I think, in general, when this game comes back around, from what I have seen from what you have produced, you produce a decent amount of really high quality, interesting promotional items that I haven't necessarily seen across the board.
I really appreciate that part. So that's why I still wanted to produce a game.
Yeah.
So as game publisher, I'm also enjoying to create the game together with the community. Some publisher doesn't like it, they just want to create that and launch it. But this is my way, our way, my way. So
Yeah.
to create, decent community and fix it again and relaunch it again. Is there any highlights I need to think about fix for the next project?
I think the big stuff we've already covered. Again, pricing being one of those things that people are concerned about. We talked about the pricing, and so that's more of a conversation of if this price is right for a specific consumer versus is this price right for the product. And you're going to get a number of different answers in that regard of, well, why don't you just do cardboard standees, or why aren't you doing miniatures? You're going to see the whole gamut. And I know we collectively have talked, both you and Eric have talked about these things, and we talked about them on an earlier call today about what the cost of producing a miniature is versus other options. So,
Simply speaking, miniature needs even one miniature needs like 3 months to prepare.
Yeah.
Plate and engraves and produce things. So if we prepare the 20 or 30 miniature, it's crazy.
Mm. It's a lot. It's years of effort, of preparation, and the amount of the minimum required for that type of production is very high. And it's very difficult with this original plan of trying to offer up this game in only English and Japanese to begin with. When we have a product that we've got the commitment to do 7-8 languages for a product right from the beginning, then we've got that backing, we've got that effort. But right now, this is just the beginning of what My Will Studios or Will Studios is trying to accomplish here. So it's hard to be able to offer that right from the beginning.
Yeah, it is. At the beginning, it's difficult. So maybe only we can prepare is alternate miniature stuff as for the J ruler or something. Just it's even though it's 5 is still high level. So maybe next round. So once we've launched our idea with current, acrylic standee, therefore the next round maybe we can add on the miniature standees in the future.
Yeah.
So another one topic, so I wanted to discuss a little bit about today is
Yeah.
retailers pledge. Some retailer also interested into join our
Yeah.
campaign. So is there anything we can fix for their offer or something for so far?
I mean, Eric, you might have. Would you like me to talk on that, or would you like to talk on retailer offerings?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sure. So, my step forward with that is I used to be a retailer before I got into the publishing side of the business, and so a lot of retailers. I can't speak for all of it because every retailer is different, especially in America. Every game store and retailer is going to have different things that they want, but a lot of what really gets retailers excited is sort of that balance between making sure that it's going to drive people to their store. So making sure that they get things that might be unique to them, or at least people can't get if they didn't back the Kickstarter. And having some way of making sure those people who did back the Kickstarter, specifically for a game like this that probably has organized play around it or otherwise, is driving them into the store to keep them in the store. And so, at least from the initial offering, without actually talking to the retailers who did pledge at that level or trying to find out the ones who didn't, it's hard to say. But at least on our side of things, from conversation, a weird notification. So there might be a gap in the video for people watching at home. But at least for like what the retail offering is, it was pretty comparable to other Kickstarters that Japanime Games has done in the past in terms of the numbers. It wasn't like they were much lower or much higher. It was pretty much in that average. So, at least for us, I couldn't tell you what a retailer needs more than that. And not every retailer is going to back
How many
Kickstarters.
retailers did we get?
I will go check. The last I had checked it, before I checked it recently, was like 10 to 12.
Yeah, but
Yeah, 10. Yes.
Yeah.
and that's good to see that there is some interest from retailers directly that want to see this, because that is definitely what's going to drive this, is having stores carrying the game and supporting the organized play behind it. But getting out more marketing directly to retailers before a relaunch could really help as well.
Yep. Yeah, I think Eric hits that one real hard, especially because you're going to have that time to recoup. Being able to spend it marketing more before you take it to a crowdfunding platform again is going to get you the crowd that you have already. You will likely lose some of them. It'll get you part of that crowd back in addition to whatever else you're marketing towards. So.
So another question from my side is, as Eric mentioned, we go and back and forth our discussion, but was that good to decide? We decided to launch the starter deck and expansion together with, because if it's only the starter deck, you cannot see whether this is expandable or not. So it's kind of very tough. But we decided to launch the starter deck and the booster pack together with. I think that was a good decision actually we made. So but the goal was going to be high, but with starter deck and the booster pack, we can enjoy the deck building and expansions as well together. So that is a good decision, right? We did.
I think that was the best way to offer it initially, but like you said, it might be better to relaunch with just 2 or 3 starters, not the full set to begin with.
And but also sure, of course, the expansion together with the set and expansions.
Right.
All together. Okay.
Don't mind me as I'm answering other questions on the side, doing the multiple levels of stuff.
Jackson, is there any typical questions, or we just almost we covered already?
It's again, there have been some smaller specific questions that we've sort of answered by answering these bigger questions. Like it's the more nitty gritty. well, why aren't you doing this one particular facet versus this other particular facet, which right now is part of it. And then again, of course, people have been talking about the state of the world being a factor. But I guess the next question that we haven't answered yet is, because of this shift forward and what the plan is, do you expect that... Wanted to mute my mic since I was already picking up people hearing me breathing, apparently, when I was turning up all the volumes, and that brought me up. Do you expect that with these changes that you're going to make before you relaunch, that the eventual goal will be less than it was currently? Because it sounds like you're going to shift what is initially available and how you're presenting that. So I would suspect the answer is yes, but I know they want to hear it from you.
The answer is yes, right? Because to prepare the 5 attribute, to prepare the 3 attribute, simply speaking, we can cut the cost of the 40% or more.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe, we're gonna find set up the stretch goals more.
Mm-hmm.
Lower goal and then stretch together with the stretch goals.
Wow. And then I think something that you will see some Kickstarters do, and this was sort of touched on with the questions, but this is more me just presenting it opposed to actually having you answer the question, is community goals. So a lot of Kickstarters will do, if this thing gets shared X amount of times, here's a stretch goal that we're going to add, or here's this thing that we're going to add. And so that's also a good way to deal with the thing that I'm bringing up here, is how you're going to market beyond, because we were reaching to our audiences and trying to reach to further audiences through Japanime games as well, how you're going to reach past like that initial audience plus the Force of Will community to people who might not have heard of either or any of these things, like how, and
that's a great idea. Community goals.
Mm-hmm.
I've never heard about it. How can we set up that goal? The number of the backers or something?
Yeah, so you can do it with a certain number of backers. You can do it with, hey, we're going to put a post on social media, and if it gets shared X number of times, we're going to add this thing. It's not something you can quite track with Kickstarter itself, outside of the backer numbers, but it is another thing that you could use to approach more ways to share this project in the future.
With using the other SNS like a Facebook or something?
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, getting it out to further crowds, and then that gets your player base, or your pledge base in this case, more involved with the actual sharing. And yeah, as Taylor's saying in the chat right now, the Gleam giveaway that we did actually ended up bringing a decent amount of funding into the campaign. So.
Yeah, Gleam is kind of similar to that in that regard. It's just starting people with chances to win a pledge or something of that nature. But this could be something where everybody, the whole campaign, gets the chance to win something, or not necessarily win, but to get another stretch goal, another special promotional item, or something of that nature.
Exactly.
I see.
But just talking about more ways, and that was my way to bring up questions in a way that is less about actually asking their question and just sort of giving an idea in general. And I'm just gonna ask this one, and you can say whatever you want on this one. This has just been one that a particular fan has been asking about, and you'll see it in certain projects. Would you ever consider, which is a really good way to sort of skirt this question if you want to, but would you ever consider the possibility of creating a card type of goal, or a character insert goal? I know some games do that, and some projects will do that. Is that something that you have considered?
Interesting.
Like the big banner that we did a lot of promotion with has you yourself as a character in the Force of Will universe.
Yes. Anyway, if we can launch that, just say, I'm gonna bring my own girls to sign up. at the Japanime booth maybe. So unfortunately, some convention canceled already, but maybe hopefully Gamma would be. I don't know Gamma, the Gen Con going to be okay, right?
Maybe.
Maybe.
That's a whole other thing that we should not tackle in this live stream.
Yeah, I mean, it is a cool idea for having super limited ones, and you already have ideas for having the ultimate soul, one of a kind characters and special foil cards and things like that. And that is theoretically, I mean, kind of like what you're doing with the metal plates. Obviously, those are one of a kind. But you could theoretically have one of a kind characters as well.
Yes, 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 yes.
Or you could have ones that were like done by an artist
Mhm.
to create a character in their likeness, and I think that's probably what they were talking about. We have done that with Japanime games on a few of our campaigns, and it is a really cool idea, but it is a bit of extra work.
Yeah.
And so I can't say that I was a huge fan of doing it, but because it does slow things down, waiting until you get done with the campaign and then having to go get the artwork done and all of that. When we're doing a campaign, we like to be pretty close to ready to go to production. We're just like, let's get this, run this Kickstarter campaign, let's get the marketing out of it, the promotion, and then the funding that comes from it, and then go to print. So that would be my biggest hesitation to suggesting such a thing.
Yeah.
Slows everything down.
I just wanted to ask it because they've been so patient asking it, and they did a really good job of not asking it multiple times, which I always appreciate. So I just wanted to reward them for their diligence, and
Sure.
Sure.
My big reason against that, though.
I mean, there are fundamental there's tons of reasons why we shouldn't do certain things, and that's okay. I'm still gonna ask the question from time to time, because then at least the question gets asked. Well, that's a lot of the big stuff. Feel free in the chat to ask a few more questions while this is going on. I had a moment where I wanted to tell an anecdote, but then I realized that I'm still under NDA for that anecdote, so I couldn't tell it. But it had to do with asking a stupid question at a meeting
Oh,
from years and years ago, where I was just sitting in a meeting and I was like, "But is it this thing?" It's like, the question didn't need to be asked, but I did it anyway. But let's see here. But I'll ask the both of you, and I'll have both of you answer while I'm going to see if I missed anything else important. What were your favorite parts of the campaign? Like, what was the thing you were most excited to see, or what was the best result that you saw from something overall? And we'll start with Eric, and then we'll ask EG.
one thing that I would mention is I really loved what EG had put together with the promotion for every character that we did for the first 5 days of the campaign, and just really giving a focus for each one of the rulers and the J rulers, and bringing all that attention to each one, because I thought it really added a lot of excitement, and I think the backers enjoyed that. We used that to go towards the voting for backers' choice to see which artwork that they liked the most, and that was interesting to see. Like Zero was the very first one we did, and with Zero, I was like, I kind of like this artwork with Zero holding the book, and I liked that artwork better, but Zero didn't look like Battle Station's kind of character in that art, and that was interesting to see. I mean, that's what everybody else felt as well. They voted on the other one. So that's always fun to see. Like, it's kind of like a poll, right? And to see what everybody really likes to see happen. Of course, with a relaunch going forward, EG can take that information and continue on with it and go, this is obviously what people like.
Yeah.
But that was fun to get that feedback from everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, EG? What was your favorite part to see?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a kind of same plot. So the original idea is we have lots of the parallel artworks, alternative artworks, So and PR we've used as PR card. So many people lost the opportunity to enjoy and see that.
No.
Some cars only dedicated for the just one country or one area or just one period or just one OP or something.
Gotcha.
That is something that it, those kinds of ideas drove me to create these alternate artworks. So our past project fans knows this is dedicated core fan knows all the our cars and artworks everybody. But some people just jump in and quit and jump back. So I wanted to produce the opportunity to enjoy our characters, lots of the artworks with the idea of the alternate artwork, alternate souls, and alternate ultimate
Yeah,
souls as well. Yeah.
Mm.
that's fair. My favorite part, which will come as no surprise to anybody who's ever talked to me about anything, is that I love money. And so when there's big ticket items, I love just seeing them fly off. Like those metal plates. I was personally, I will not lie that I didn't know how well those would do because I don't know how invested the Force of Will community was for it. And so to see every single one of them go so quickly
Right.
was really, really cool to see. At least for me. Like, I phrase it with I like money, but it was really neat to see that.
It was neat to see how excited people were for those characters. And
Exactly.
Like those metal plates, which I hope to get one myself someday.
I said the same thing. I was like, if I had the money, you can bet that I would be jumping on one of these. Let's see here. There's a few other questions that have cropped up because I asked people. There's one that I'm going to talk about a little bit. I think you also have input on this, Eric, before I ask the other one, which is just the duration of the campaign. We typically, as a company, tend to do the shorter campaigns of about 16 days. And a lot of people were curious why we didn't go for the longer stretch, especially because Kickstarter has been offering an extension on certain projects to let them go longer than their normal time frame.
Well, basically, my theory, the way that we like to run a campaign is to have it exciting, right? And we want to keep it exciting throughout the life of the campaign. And it's hard to have enough information every single day throughout the life of the campaign to keep it exciting. And always, a campaign has a super, it's going to have a great start, it's going to have a solid finish, but there's that dead zone in the middle, and I don't want to make too big of a dead zone.
Yep.
And if we have that, then it just becomes slow. It's slow, it's not as exciting to the backers, and generally speaking, I find we have a slower finish. I like to have a very solid start by getting a lot of excitement, a lot of promotion out to begin with, and then I know it's going to slow down, obviously, throughout the middle of the campaign. But if we have too long of a lull in the middle, then it doesn't have the solid ending that we're trying to accomplish. I've run, we were talking about it the other day, close to 25 Kickstarter campaigns.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I've seen this over and over and over. And years ago, we used to do like 4-week campaigns, 28 days, and then we've shrunk them down because it's quick and dirty, so to speak, to jump in and run the campaign. So running it for longer doesn't necessarily help.
Yeah.
That's my answer to that question.
And that's why I sort of turned it over to you. I knew what the answer was asking it, but I wanted to let you be the one to extrapolate on that. And that's kind of where my opinion on it falls too, is that it is a delicate balance between giving a ton of extra time for a campaign, where things can just drop out in the middle, versus actually needing that longer tail on certain projects. Like, I don't, for comparison, because we were talking about at the start of the relaunch of the stream, Frosthaven. I have no idea how insane that campaign would have looked if they did a 16-day turnaround.
Right, and they have so much content so much marketing they put behind this. And we were just talking about Frosthaven is just about to break 10 million. It's been huge. It doesn't look like it's quite going to match the largest tabletop game campaign of all time, which
Yeah.
is Dark Souls at 12 million.
Was it Dark Souls and not Kingdom? It wasn't Kingdom
Yeah,
Death?
sorry, Kingdom Death Monster.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
I was like, that's a different They're very similar, but different projects.
Which didn't do as well, but still did quite well.
Did very well.
Kingdom Death Monster. Yeah, so people were trying to tell Isaac to hold off on running his campaign because the timing and the market and all of that, but they've done okay. Like, they're going to hit 10 million on the next day, and they've got 2 days left.
Yeah.
So they did a full 30-day campaign on theirs, if I remember correctly. 31 days, so
Yeah.
a full month.
Yeah,
And-
they're doing the longer one.
Yes. But that is such a huge, epic project with so much behind it. And Isaac created very interesting storylines behind the whole thing. He created almost a game in the campaign itself by creating a storyline that came out throughout the life of it. And I mean, he put a lot of work into that.
Oh, yeah.
Very well done. And there are things you can do to still keep things exciting and drawing more people to it and all of that if you have something that epic.
Yeah.
You did a great job with that.
They do. I just figured it's a good comparison to say,
Yeah.
I personally would like to see more projects on the shorter timeline. There's a lot of projects out there that I'm like, it's going to hit its funding, it's going to get phenomenal hits on the stretch goals. If they factor that in, hit that 16-day period, they're going to get a better result and be able to get to work on actually getting that to fans faster.
Mm-hmm.
Like, 2 weeks can make a world of difference. So, I think that's the big stuff that we had through here. A lot of people excited about the plates.
Evie, do you have that plate with you?
Yeah, if you have that, it'd be great to show off on stream.
Not here actually.
No?
No.
But I have one thing to add on about the rock, right? So, actually, I'm trying to prepare the good album with good plate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we can put the metal plate in good looking album, and together with the PR cards of it and the standees of it.
Okay.
So this is going to be the gorgeous style actually.
Mm-hmm.
That's I wanted to make them surprising to show off that, but let's keep that opportunity for the next time. So
Yeah.
this is the only opportunity they get the ultimate fight
Yeah.
so far.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to make that happen in the best experience ever they had. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I think people responded exceptionally well to it. Again, as Eric said, the majesty that comes from actually seeing one of those plates in person or holding one, the video, I hate using the cliche, but the video does not do those plates justice. Like, those things are gorgeous, and the video was good without question. It showed the item exceptionally well, but it's just so different seeing items like that in person sometimes. So with that said, we're going to start winding down. I'll ask some questions if they come up, but Eric, I'll start with you, and then I'll ask EG as well, or I'll start with myself, and then I'll ask you. Do we have? I realized as I said it that I was like, and then I'll go. I'm like, why would I go last? That's weird. Parting thoughts, some ideas that we want to share with the fans about this project, Japanime Games, Will Studio, Alternate Souls, all of these different things. What do we want to tell them? So that's what I'm offering to both of you, and if you'd like me to go first, so that I can then go to Eric and EG, so it's not like I'm putting myself last for some reason,
Sure, go ahead.
I'll get it kicked off. So at least for me, like, I was really excited about this project. I'm really excited to see what EG does with it going forward. It's definitely something that, when it does come out, I'm going to have on my shelves, because I really appreciate the quality of games like this. And so that's, for me, that's my closing remark. I'm really excited to see what you bring to the table next.
And EG, as you know, I would love to have some special promotional Sylvia card. So I think that would be very fun if we get to that later on. But that aside, those of you that probably don't know, my mother's name is Sylvia, who's a character in the game, and she's a redhead too. So it was very fitting with that character. But yeah, same thing. I mean, I'm looking forward to see what does what happens with this game, and we obviously think it's great. We enjoyed working on this Kickstarter campaign with EG, and would really like to see things come out. Hopefully, not too far in the future.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's before we get to Egypt. That's something we've talked about. Is that, of course, there is always going to be a sense of competition when you are producing similar products to other things that are on the market or in general. But, and I think Eric would agree with this a lot of time, a rising tide, as they say, raises all ships. And so it's less competition and more wanting to see success for people who are contemporaries and other people in the industry and see the really cool stuff that everybody wants to bring out.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's kind of funny. When I first met EG was 8 years ago.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, we met at Gamma, and he came to me to show me Force of Will, and he's like, "Hey, this game I'm making," and I'm like, "I'm so busy with Crossmaster, I don't have time with this right now." And then he pushed it forward. He made it happen. He found a way to bring that game to market and did really well with it. And so I thought he did a great job with that. I think Alternate Souls, when it does release, will be a great product as well.
yeah. So with that, I wanted to interject because I felt it was important. EG, what are your parting words?
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity. As you guys first, I'm saying, I'm just so super excited to enjoy this show. And I really appreciate the backers comment. And, they support us a lot, and artworks and videos and comments and suggestions to fix. So this is where we go. So with you guys comment and our fans comment, so our product is going to be better and better and better. We are not the big publisher, but we have solid fans. So this is the way. So we are now we can enjoy together. So please expect our next coming project not so long time. We will do hopefully during this month, but let me prepare something. Well, the point is not so many to fix. Some point we need to fix, but it's simple style. So I don't want to keep you waiting long time. So please stay tuned on our Facebook website and YouTube channel as well. Now let's enjoy our next time show together.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I couldn't say it any better. With that, we should say goodbye, as Age just did.
Yes. Thank you all. And we'll be seeing you around as soon as we can hit up conventions again.
Yeah. It's a big deal for the future. So.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Until next time.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.